Roughly 8 years ago, my marriage to my ex-wife, Temi, fell apart soon after our twins were born. Our relationship wasn't built for the long haul. We'd only been together for about 16 months when we learned she was pregnant. Like many couples, we panicked a bit and thought staying together for the kids might be the right move. People often believe children can mend a shaky relationship. Truthfully, we weren't the most compatible duo. We had our share of joyful times, but the spark was never deep or enduring. When the pregnancy news hit, I hoped we could make it work and create something stable. But honestly, we were like fire and ice. Still, for the twins' sake, we gave it our best shot. At first, things were manageable. We had our disagreements, as all couples do, but nothing too dramatic. Co-parenting went smoothly, and we kept the peace. Then Temi met someone she thought was her true match. I understood. She wanted a fresh start and a new path. She was upfront about it, and we agreed to part ways amicably. I wasn't heartbroken. Our bond had never been rock solid to begin with. We separated respectfully and settled into a co-parenting routine. It worked well. We split custody evenly, kept our talks centered on the kids, and put their well-being first. We were committed to shielding them from our differences, so we made a real effort. Since we shared time and expenses equally, child support wasn't necessary. 2 years later, Temi got serious with her current husband. Not the guy she first dated after me, but someone new. He had a daughter the same age as our twins. Temi introduced him and shared that their relationship was deepening. I supported her effort to create a stable home for the kids, so I was fine with it. Initially, it seemed okay. I assumed she just wanted to blend families harmoniously, but then she started suggesting I treat her stepdaughter like my own. Let me be clear, I have nothing against her stepdaughter. She's just a kid in a tough spot. But Temi began expecting me to include her stepdaughter in all my activities with the twins. I explained calmly that while I understood her goal, I wasn't the stepfather here. I was already stretched thin being a great dad to my own kids. Still, she kept pushing. Co-parenting was already a balancing act, and her demands made it tougher. Soon, it started impacting my time with my twins. Every outing or gift I planned turned into a debate about including her stepdaughter. I didn't mind inviting her occasionally, but it became an expectation. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I just didn't think it was fair to be pushed into a parental role for someone else's child. Over time, anything special I did for my twins sparked a reaction if her stepdaughter wasn't treated the same. Once Temi got upset because I didn't spend as much on her stepdaughter's gift as I did for the twins. That was my limit. I decided to set firm boundaries and focus my energy and resources on my own kids. I explained this to her, and she didn't take it well. She called me selfish and said I was refusing to support the whole family, but I never agreed to her vision of one big blended household. I reiterated that my duty was to love and provide for my twins. After that, we shifted to parallel parenting. We stuck to separate schedules and stopped blending households. This made things easier and let me focus on my kids without being pulled in multiple directions. Temi still brought it up now and then, acting like I was wrong for not parenting every child in her home. Her situation grew more complicated. She and her husband had a baby together and later took in his nephew. Now her house included our twins, their stepsister, a cousin, and a half-sibling. She tried to unite them as one family, but I made it clear my role was limited to my twins. Then came the school trip issue. My kids go to a small school with mixed grade classes, so they're in the same class as their stepsister and cousin. It's an unusual setup, but it works. The trip was a big deal, an interactive museum experience with hands-on activities. My twins were thrilled, and I was happy to cover the cost. But when I told Temi, her response caught me off guard. She went quiet, then asked why the other kids couldn't go too. I thought she was kidding, but she was dead serious. She insisted it was unfair for only our twins to go if their stepsister and cousin couldn't. I reminded her that I was responsible for our kids, not her entire household. I even suggested she and her husband could fund it if they felt so strongly, but she doubled down, saying it would emotionally harm the other kids and strain their bond with my twins. Her husband joined in, accusing me of fracturing the family. I asked him directly, "Why is it my job to pay for kids who aren't mine?" He acted like I was the bad guy for setting a boundary. They called me cold and claimed I was causing emotional damage. I pushed back, saying I just wanted to do something nice for my kids without being guilt-tripped into funding someone else's home. They wouldn't drop it. A few days later, Temi asked to meet face-to-face. We met at a cafe, and I could tell it wouldn't be a casual talk. She launched into a speech about how this wasn't just about a trip. It was about establishing fairness for the long term. She brought up future vacations, birthdays, and family events, suggesting I should contribute equally for all the kids. I was stunned. She was basically asking me to bankroll her entire blended family. She leaned on the emotional angle, saying inequality would breed resentment among the kids. I calmly reminded her that only 2 of those kids were mine. She wasn't happy. She said, "If you really cared, you'd support the whole family." Then her husband showed up. whether by plan or chance, and joined the conversation. He accused me of creating division and being unfair. I told him my responsibility starts and ends with my twins. He claimed if the kids grew distant, it would be my fault. I called him out, saying he only pushed this one family idea when it involved my money. Finally, I'd had enough. I told him, if you want equality, that's on you, not me. I left the cafe exhausted but confident I'd done the right thing. The pressure didn't stop. Soon, her family started contacting me. Her sister said I was hurting the kids' happiness. Her mother called and implied a real man takes care of the whole household, even if it's not his. I politely disagreed and ended the call. Her brother posted a snarky comment online about real fathers. I deleted it and moved on. Even her husband cornered me during a drop-off to repeat his guilt trip. I told him again, I'm responsible for my kids, not everyone else's. It was draining. I vented to friends who were shocked. One suggested they start a fundraiser if they cared so much. I realized arguing with them was pointless. So I made a firm choice. I would hold my boundaries and not back down. I sat my twins down and reassured them the trip was just for them and they shouldn't feel guilty for enjoying it. They were excited, and that eased my stress. I called Temi and laid it out clearly but respectfully. I said I'd keep doing right by the twins, but I wasn't responsible for her household. She tried to guilt me again, but I cut it off and said, "This is final." She replied coldly, "Fine," trying to make me feel bad, but I didn't. The next few weeks were peaceful. No more messages, no more pressure, just calm. I spent quality time with the twins, and the trip went perfectly. Their happiness reminded me what truly mattered. Then, surprisingly, Temi called the next day. I thought that would settle it. I mean, what could top that? But when someone feels entitled, there's no limit to how far they'll go. A couple of weeks passed. Things were calm. I was enjoying time with my twins, helping with schoolwork, playing games, and keeping things relaxed. The drama seemed to fade, but peace doesn't last with someone who ignores boundaries. One day, the school called to verify a change to the twins' emergency contact and pickup list. Apparently, Temi had submitted a form naming her husband as a legal guardian with authority to make school decisions, pick them up, and attend parent meetings in my place. I was floored. She hadn't consulted me. There was no discussion, and crucially, her husband isn't their legal parent. I called the school and told them to reject the change. I made it clear that only Temi and I have legal authority over the twins. Then I contacted Temi. She played it off, saying it was just for convenience and wouldn't hurt to have her husband more involved. I told her firmly, "Not happening. These are my kids." Her husband has no legal role in their lives, and decisions don't go through him. She got defensive, accusing me of shutting out her family and being unreasonable. But this wasn't about exclusion. It was about overreach, and it didn't stop there. A week later, I got an email from her lawyer. Yes, her lawyer. The subject line made my heart sink. Petition to adjust financial responsibilities and household equity for children. I read it, and it was a list of demands. She wasn't seeking child support, but claimed my financial status created an imbalance between the twins' two homes, harming their emotional health. She wanted me to fund a home upgrade, cover transportation for all her kids, and provide a monthly allowance for family blending needs. I was stunned. She'd gone from misguided to manipulative. I called my lawyer immediately. We reviewed everything and decided to act, not react. First, we filed a motion to formalize our custody and financial terms in court. We'd handled things informally before to avoid conflict, but now I needed legal protection. Second, we sent a cease and desist letter regarding her husband's guardianship attempt. He had no legal right to act for my kids, and we needed that documented. When the papers were served, I braced for backlash and got it. Temi sent a long text about how I'd broken her trust, turned things into a legal battle, and was hurting the kids' future by opposing unity. I didn't reply. Instead, I focused on the twins. I explained in simple terms that parents sometimes disagree, but they're safe, loved, and my priority. They didn't need the drama, just reassurance. Court day was intense. Her lawyer painted me as an uncooperative father who refused to embrace the kids' wider family. My lawyer presented evidence, emails, texts, and records of my dedication to the twins. We showed my commitment was unwavering and that I wasn't responsible for kids who weren't mine. The judge saw through her claims. He ruled in my favor, formalizing our custody arrangement and stating my duties were to my biological children only. Her household equity request was denied flat out. The guardianship attempt was also rejected, with a reminder that legal guardianship requires proper process. Leaving the courtroom, I felt relief I hadn't known in years. For the first time, legal boundaries backed the lines I'd been defending alone. She couldn't manipulate or guilt me anymore. It was freeing. After the ruling, things quieted down. No more fairness talks, no more family messages. The legal route showed I was serious. Best of all, my twins seemed happier, less tense. The underlying stress was gone. They didn't feel caught between homes or guilty for having two lives. And me? I slept better. Time with them became more joyful, more focused. No more drama, just real parenting. I learned that being a good dad sometimes means being the villain in someone else's narrative. It means standing firm against manipulation. It means going to court if needed to protect your kids, your sanity, your finances, and your peace. If anyone tries to guilt you into thinking doing right by your own children isn't enough, don't just hold your ground. Defend it. Legally, if this story resonated with you, please like, share, and follow for more real-life stories and heartfelt experiences. Your support means everything and helps bring more stories like this to you. Thank you for reading, and I'll share more soon.